Hello and welcome to this special show on the role of women in nation building. A woman is an architect of society. She establishes the institution of family life, builds the home and contributes to society. Her strength in totality contributes in the making of an ideal family, an ideal society and an ideal state. Women's participation in nation building is an important ingredient in achieving equitable, peaceful and more prosperous society, and that's what we will be discussing today on this show. We have with us a very special panel of three ladies who's joining us here. I'm going to start with introducing somebody who's on my left, Aditi Maheshwari, who's the director at Vani Prakasham. On her left, we have with us Dr. Manisha Priyam, who's a senior academician, and on her left, we have Surbhi Deora, who's the founder of careerguide.com. Thank you all for joining us here on this special discussion. And before we talk about specifics, now women's issues have been discussed quite a bit. How much do you think have things really changed? I'm going to start with you, Dr. Manisha. And today we're sitting here having this discussion, but there are still women out there, and I'm not just talking about India, but other parts of the world as well, who have no rights. How far have things really changed for women out there?
For women here in India is what I would like to talk to you about, and I do think there's lots to be done, but I do think that in 1991, for example, large parts of this country had illiteracy rates, and especially for women, that put us worse than sub-Saharan Africa. I would say, and those states were called Bimaru, sickness, illness, disease. And largely why? On account of women, especially those who belong to scheduled caste and scheduled tribe categories, outside the net of any form of institutional association. Now, I do think that lots needs to be done. There's lots of adverse things against the woman. But I do think that India's contested policy road and the contested process of educational reform has still yielded in favor of women. And I would say 2001 to 2011 onwards, even the worst amongst them, the state of Bihar and its girl child, especially belonging to the disadvantaged social caste population, has been able to come there. She is the girl on the cycle, the last frontier photograph that you see. So there is that note of optimism. However, this last front line of women from disadvantaged backgrounds is going to come knocking at the doorsteps of our higher education institutions. So I think challenges lie ahead in the future, but there's women coming knocking.
There's women coming knocking, and be ready to meet those challenges as well. Aditi, you're a publisher. Looking at the kind of stereotyping there is about women, even in this day and age, how do you really deal with that? Because when you must be getting these books, and how do you really change that stereotyping that we're seeing when it's being published, when people are out there reading it by the millions?
I think books about women, by women, for women, on women have existed for time immemorial. We are in a society that has witnessed authors like Andal, Akka Mahadevi, who were writing from 11th, 12th, 13th century about women empowerment. So ours has been a very progressive society, if I may use the word progressive without the quote unquote. So, but if we see the so-called chicklet literature today, which is talking about a certain class of women in the urban cosmopolitan towns, I think these narratives have existed and they are responding to the society. So once a manuscript comes to us, for example, as a publisher, we have to decide A, whether it is stereotyping women too much or is it not stereotyping women too much.
The argument for that goes, are they responding to society, or is society responding to this kind of literature that is out there? Would you like to respond, Dr. Manisha?
I think it's both ways, and the one thing that I find is, some unfortunate events have rocked the national capital. We saw the Nirbhaya movement, for example, and when I was looking at the young ones there, as I call it, in the city square, protesting for their rights, I remember my own times in 1983 to 85 or 85 to 88 when I was at the Lady Shri Ram College, and there had been the Sati Rup Kaur unfortunate incident, and we were at that point of time allowed out of the hostel only on 3 days of the week and only in the evenings. But there did happen to be a protest march that was coming here where you're located to Mandi House, and I do remember that we had gone with a petition to the principal saying, now, let us out now. And we had said on the petition that we want to go for this protest march, and it's about women. And I still remember that there was a moment of pause, and I told the principal that I can feel that this woman was being burnt while she was alive, and we were allowed out institutionally. So I do think that women out in the city square at an unfortunate moment in the city's history and life were really taking that history far forward to the times that we stood there. So I do think it's not really a question of is this remaking that or is that. I would think there is a far more assertive woman right behind that text that Aditi is publishing. And I would say just the way the City Square and the March of Women reversed or reverted how I stood at the sidelines of a march, I think the text will be reverted if it doesn't take on the life situations of women. So I think publish that page, but there's a woman right behind there with her struggles. If you don't do it well, she's going to reverse this.
You know, very interesting. There also the Prime Minister also said we need to move beyond women's development and move towards women-led development. I'm going to talk to you a little more in detail about that, but first let me involve Surbhi in this discussion. Also, Surbhi, you know, you're the founder of careerguide.com. I'm sure this is, you know, we're talking about being an entrepreneur. How important is it for women to take on this role, and what are you giving back to society when you're becoming an entrepreneur at this age?
Absolutely. You know, first of all, you know, my co-panelists use the word progressive, things are changing. Well, I guess things definitely changing from 20-30 years down the line, but I guess a couple of days back we read this ban of mobile phone on girls, you know, they cannot use in a couple of states. That's crazy. Somebody is giving a statement like chowmin khane se kuch hota hai, and we talking about the word progressive. That's the question. We talking about, so your question coming on to how important, you know, is to be entrepreneur, how difficult it is to be an entrepreneur. So think about it. Today, families are willing to save 50 lakhs for marriage of a girl. Is it possible? Can you even imagine the same family giving 50 lakhs to their daughter to run a business? We all know the answer, you know what it is. So where's the question of
But that's the mindset we need to change.
That's the mindset we need to change. So when I'm talking about, you know, when parents come, so interestingly, which happened in last 5 decades is that, yes, we want our girls to be educated, but the question is that do we want our girls really to take part in economy, you know?
To be really empowered, basically. Do we want them to be empowered along with being educated?
Exactly.
That's the big question.
Exactly. You know, so I get parents coming to me, to us talking about, hey, we are putting our girls into good college, but can you suggest a comfortable careers which she need not, she might take,
What's
might
really
not
the definition of a comfortable career? Would any of you want to respond to that?
So all careers are for women extremely challenging, and I used to be teaching and I was greeted saying, you've really got that profession which is so good for a woman. So we really took those careers that were left by the others.
Look at where women are today.
No, we took those left by the women, and I can bet to you today that for the last 8 years that I have been on television, most men to the right or left of me don't want to come back to another show with me. So give us the left, give us the left, give us the left out, give us the crumbs. We are happy. You define careers your way. I would suggest to her, when parents are asking, suggest them some careers. Let the woman get even that, and you see what changes after that.
Okay. Would you like to respond to that?
I think no career in today's post-global economy can give you a comfort sofa or a comfort couch. But having said that, I still have an understanding that there are careers like teaching, like, you know, related jobs where parents of a certain strata of our society feel that if their daughters are into it, they will be coming back home at 5 and will be cooking for the family. Yeah. So that's not what the kind of future we are looking out for in our country anymore. Women are taking the top jobs. They are, and of course glass ceiling has been there always, but we are trying hard to break it, and we are trying to reclaim our sky.
Of course. And how important is it for the woman to be empowered when we're talking about a whole nation and taking that nation forward, when we're talking about the growth of a nation, taking it to new heights? How important is it for the women of that nation to be empowered?
You know, it's extremely critical for women to be empowered. It's extremely critical to accept what is on offer, but criticize what they do, be critical with themselves in a daily basis. When she was telling us about the fact that they'll put out so much for a wedding but not so much for this, the girl who's going through this needs to say, I don't want to do this. So it's the woman who's got to remember that her life is going to be a lot of fun, but doing the contest on a daily basis should be an art, a science, a skill, a metaphor, like the very breath that goes in. And for women, I would say that any career is not a career which is easy. There are skills. I find myself on 2 jobs. I'm at duty at home, I'm at duty at work. I have worked now for over 20 years. I've traveled many continents. Every time I travel abroad, it's the fact of, oh, you're going, how many things in the household, and I have to come and keep pretending. It's like the Nautanki class I do and say, oh yeah, I really understand that the house will be neglected, but here's my next visit. And the next one comes with a better race than that. The last one was to Bhubaneswar, the next one will be to Stanford. And when I put my own CV together, sometimes I feel that if the family members and those who were doing Protsahan to me, if they ever saw it, they would regret the fact that they ever signed a permission letter for me to go to the Mandi House City Square. So quietly, but keep doing it, and don't accept the 50 lakh wedding. Reject it, saying this lehenga is going to cost you mehenga padega.
So I think
so
the key is,
forget it.
Girls today need to have more role models, you know. So how many
Okay,
role
so
models
the
do we
big
have?
question here that I'm going to ask you after we come back from this break is that who are we fighting and what are we fighting for? That's what I'm going to be asking, but after this quick break here.
बहुत बहुत बधाई हो, आपने अपने बच्चों को पोलियो से बचा लिया। लेकिन जब तक दुनिया में पोलियो का एक भी केस है, पोलियो का खतरा बना हुआ है। इसीलिए अब सरकार देश में पोलियो इंजेक्शन की शुरुआत कर रही है, ताकि आपके बच्चे को मिले डबल सुरक्षा। अब अपने 1 साल से छोटे बच्चे को टीकाकरण सत्र में पोलियो की तीसरी खुराक के साथ जरूर दिलवाएं पोलियो का इंजेक्शन। क्यों राधा, इससे क्या होगा पता है ना?
हाँ दीदी, पोलियो से डबल सुरक्षा हमेशा के लिए।
याद रहे, पोलियो की तीसरी खुराक के साथ जरूर दिलवाएं पोलियो का इंजेक्शन।
अधिक जानकारी के लिए अपने पास के स्वास्थ्य केंद्र, एएनएम या आशा दीदी से संपर्क करें।
किशोर अवस्था हम सब की जिंदगी का बहुत ही अहम पड़ाव होता है, जिसमें हम सब बहुत ही महत्वपूर्ण शारीरिक और मानसिक बदलावों से गुजरते हैं। इस उम्र में खून की कमी यानी अनीमिया काफी आम है, जिसके कारण कमजोरी, चिड़चिड़ापन और थकान जैसी शिकायतें आती हैं। सप्ताह में 1 बार आईएफए की नीली गोली लेना किशोर अवस्था में विकास के लिए सहायक होता है। ये नीली गोली शासकीय शालाओं, आंगनबाड़ी केंद्रों और शासकीय स्वास्थ्य संस्थाओं में निशुल्क मिलती है। मैं आशा करती हूँ कि आप सब किशोर और किशोरियां साप्ताहिक आईएफए की इस नीली गोली का सेवन जरूर करेंगे।
अस्पताल में गंदगी हो सकती है, कुछ छूना मत और बीमार पड़ जाओगी।
अरे दीदी, अब सब बदल रहा है।
इतनी साफ सफाई?
जी, हम सब ने मेहनत की है ताकि आपके इलाज में कोई कमी ना आए।
बदल रहा है, बदल रहे हैं। स्वास्थ्य केंद्र अब स्वच्छ हो रहे हैं और ये आपके ब्लॉक में भी संभव है। बस पहल करनी पड़ेगी हमको और आपको भी। स्वच्छता का संकल्प करें, स्वास्थ्य केंद्र का कायाकल्प।
आप सबने दुनिया भर में क्या मिसाल बनाई है, जिस सफाई से आपने कचरा वहीं फेंक दिया। और मन्नू आंटी क्या कूड़ा फेंकती हैं, ओलंपिक्स के गोला फेंकने वाले भी शर्मा जाएं। और ये देखिए, लक्ष्मी भाभी की सफाई तो गांव-गांव में प्रसिद्ध है। हमारे सुखिया भैया मन की करते, जहां सोचा वहीं शौच कर दिया। ये देश जो आप ही का घर है, उसे क्यों गंदा करते हैं? थोड़ी शर्म कर लो, सोच स्वच्छ कर लो।
अगर एक बार 125 करोड़ देशवासी तय कर लें कि मैं गंदगी नहीं करूंगा, तो दुनिया की कोई ताकत नहीं है जो हिंदुस्तान को गंदा कर सकती है।
स्वच्छ भारत, एक कदम स्वच्छता की ओर।
अस्पताल में गंदगी हो सकती है, कुछ छूना मत और बीमार पड़ जाओगी।
अरे दीदी, अब सब बदल रहा है।
इतनी साफ सफाई?
जी, हम सब ने मेहनत की है ताकि आपके इलाज में कोई कमी ना आए।
बदल रहा है, बदल रहे हैं। स्वास्थ्य केंद्र अब स्वच्छ हो रहे हैं और ये आपके ब्लॉक में भी संभव है। बस पहल करनी पड़ेगी हमको और आपको भी। स्वच्छता का संकल्प करें, स्वास्थ्य केंद्र का कायाकल्प।
दीदी ये देखो,
H1N1 फ्लू को फैलने से रोका जा सकता है। खांसी और छींक के बाद और बच्चे को छूने से पहले अपने हाथों को साबुन से धोकर H1N1 फ्लू को फैलने से रोक सकते हैं।
इन्फेक्शन रोको, बनो हीरो। इलाज सिर्फ चुने हुए अस्पतालों में उपलब्ध।
उंगली थाम के जिसने चलना सिखाया, कड़ी मेहनत करके हमको पढ़ाया, हमारी खुशियों को अपनी खुशी बनाया, जिंदगी के हर सुख दुख में जो एक साया बनकर साथ रहे, ढलती उम्र में इन्हें अकेला ना छोड़ें। ध्यान रखें, माता पिता एवं वरिष्ठ नागरिक भरण पोषण एवं कल्याण अधिनियम 2007 के तहत माता पिता की देखभाल करना हमारा कर्तव्य है और उनको बेसहारा छोड़ना एक दंडनीय अपराध है। सामाजिक न्याय और अधिकारिता मंत्रालय, भारत सरकार द्वारा जनहित में जारी।
मैं अमिताभ बच्चन आज आपके सामने वो कहने जा रहा हूं जो मैंने पहले कभी नहीं कहा। मैं एक रोगी, हेपेटाइटिस बी का रोगी। 1982 में कुली फिल्म की शूटिंग के दौरान मेरे साथ एक दुर्घटना हुई। ऑपरेशन करवाना पड़ा और मेरे शरीर में 60 बोतल खून चढ़ाया गया। खून का कोई एक सैंपल हेपेटाइटिस बी इन्फेक्टेड था जो मेरे लिवर तक पहुंच गया। कई सालों बाद आम जांच के दौरान जब इसका पता चला तो मुझे यह भी पता चला कि मेरा 1/4 लिवर ही बचा हुआ है। लेकिन सही इलाज के बाद आज मैं आपके सामने खड़ा हूं और काम कर रहा हूं। हेपेटाइटिस बी से बचने का पहला उपाय है शिशु के जन्म पर पहला टीका लगवाएं और पहले साल में 3 और नियमित टीके लगवाएं। ये आपका पहला कदम होना चाहिए। मुफ्त टीकाकरण के लिए अपने पास के स्वास्थ्य केंद्र जाएं और पूरी जानकारी लें। देखिए, ये जो हेपेटाइटिस बी है, इससे हम डरेंगे नहीं, लड़ेंगे।
Welcome back to this special program. Now, before we went into that break, Surbi actually picked up a point and said we need more role models for women to get more empowered. But Surbi, when we're talking about role models, do those role models have to be women? And again, if we're saying that, are we stereotyping men? Why cannot a role model be a man himself?
No, absolutely. We have enough role models as a man, you know. But I think to set priorities for girls and women, we need to have real life role models for them to be around. Not on TV studios, not on the screens. We don't need Priyanka Chopras as role models, but we need real women whom they can see, they can relate to in and around their vicinity, you know. That's going to help them, you know, set their own priorities. Priorities like what's important for them, what is right, what is not wrong. Maybe we all are fortunate enough to be from urban class, we all are fortunate enough to get educated, stay in Delhi, travel around the world, but we are talking about, when we talk about the word empowerment, we are just not talking about women in metros, you know, we're talking about likes of Bihar, inner UPs, inner Rajasthan, down south, you know, we're talking about all of it. For these women, you know, it's more about real people around them, you know. Is it their mother? Is it their sisters? Is it their relatives? Somebody in the colony? What they're doing? How they're doing? Is it important for me to buy something, you know, glossy MAC lipstick? Versus is it important for me to stand up that I want to do this course and I want to go out? So it's own priorities we need to set.
Okay,
you know.
so setting our own priorities, that's what you're saying. And the big question that I really asked before we went into that break as well was about who are we really fighting and what are we fighting for, Dr. Manisha?
You know, it's very nice that Surbi includes me as someone who lives in Delhi. But just as an aside, my formal schooling started only in class 3. I used to live in rural parts of Bihar. I wasn't even in the state capital. And it's in grade 10, after grade 10 that I came to Delhi for education. The only reason why I was allowed to come here was because, you know, there was a real choice between going to Pune and coming to Delhi. And my father said, oh, this is at least an overnight train journey and I'll be able to see you here. So I'm very happy to see Surbi here and her generation say that it's coming to us, it's not coming to. Well, it has come. That process has been a process of contest. And while there may be people like us, for example, I did my doctorate much after I was married, but it was the dogged determination with which I just kept on to the path. So really what has happened in that entire thing is that my daughter today, and she's correct in saying that the role models need to be real life role models. My daughter today has very little option on the fact she can go and buy that lipstick, but she knows that if she doesn't get even what her mother according to her, that's a little less, it's going to be tough for her. So for her, it's quite clear that she will do the girly things. She looks much younger. She looks exactly like the lovely ladies to my right and left. But it is quite clear that as far as the critical 9 to 5 spending is concerned, she is out in the workplace like men. And that's what I think is important for women, that 9 to 5 is not to be spent in the global marketplace. And I do think the likes of Pandita Ramabai or Savitri Devi Phule, for example, there's a hostel in her name for girls who want to go and study there. So I think they opened up that panorama for us, the newspapers, the public sphere. So I would think a simple thing in Delhi like newspaper reading clubs by women or book clubs by women would be the transformative act. But look at the fact that our consumer markets, by the afternoon, you won't find a parking slot because all we want to do is that. So the route for the women is through Renaissance, Reformation, the book world, the museum world in and around Mandi. Let the women flock the city square with protests, with reading, with Renaissance, with Reformation. I think it's women's step first.
Aditi, when we're talking about reading and the question that I really asked, that who are we fighting and what are we fighting for, would you like to answer that?
I think it's very difficult to identify the unanimous enemy because the lived reality of women in India is very different from it's very different from area to the economic class and caste and so forth. For example, I think we have to break the stereotypes here. I went to Azamgarh and I met a few Dalit women there who were taken care of by NGOs. There's a village that has been adopted, and these girls sing the Lal Gan, which means I'll just share a few words with you if you allow me. मैं बाबुल का घर नहीं छोड़ूंगी, बाबुल का घर नहीं छोड़ूंगी, छोड़ूंगी तो स्कूल जाऊंगी और वहाँ करतब दिखाऊंगी. So this is Azamgarh, and this is a very downtrodden area, a very poor area, and the girls are singing these songs there. So and on the other hand, when you come to Delhi or Mumbai, you have girls who from the age of 19, 20 are aware about the cosmetic brands. If they don't have a career plan, they are kitty party cosmetic trophy daughters and then trophy wives. So I think what is happening...
But that's about a mindset, right? And the kind of opportunities that you've been given, if you're not using them, then...
Right. So they are not able to judge, perhaps, that so much has been done for them by the institutions. So much has been done for them by their family. And they have to utilize it to become a member of a society, an active member of a society who contributes and have a say. And that is, I think, my colleague here was very, very correct when she said that it all boils down to how you prioritize. And we need to have more important, active, real role model. You know?
I wanted to add on to thing. I think one thing which we are fighting is our own emotional. We need to have this emotional resilience with us. I think everything is right with all of us, but when it comes to the emotional angle to it, we all tend to give up. I think we all need to know how to hold on to it. Not easily give up.
But there's no one stronger than a woman, and do we need that one day to remind ourselves of this fact?
Absolutely not. Absolutely. This is farcical. Why do you have one day of being, International Women Day? In a way, we are accepting we are minorities. We need to be empowered.
But maybe it is about celebrating women, right?
You need to tell me, is there a men days or something like that? Is there something?
Let me argue it out slightly with Surabhi on 2 points. When she said television, and I was extremely busy today. We've just finished a big international conference at public universities, lots of Brazil, Africa, etc. And today I was sitting through one of the lectures when your call has come for this. And I'm leaving, as I said, for 2 more public lectures in universities in the US. And these are my last few hours. But when it was said that it is an International Women's Day program, I said I have to go. It's a Doordarshan program. Both could be reasons why I should have said no, and both were reasons why I said yes and came here, because this public sector sponsored television program on Women's Day, why should I be seen only on the private sector channels and doing only politics and elections? Why should I not be seen as doing women? Why should I not be? I'm not an activist, as I told you, but why should the academic not be sharing today the top secrets of brand management the brand woman management. It's out there, I'm telling you. And these are fun things. You get to do a lot of really fun things by spending your 9 to 5 exactly the way men do it. And I'm telling you, at the end of it, beating the men hollow is a simple and easy game. To turn back and do it with a womanly smile leaves you with a satisfaction that is absolutely eternal.
Okay, well, this has been a very satisfying discussion as well, but I'm going to thank you, lovely ladies, for joining us here on this special program. That's all the time we have for on this show. Well, we hope you enjoyed this discussion as well, and like everybody here agrees, it really needs to be a women-led development, and that's what we should all be aiming for. And thanks for joining us on this special show today. Namaskar.